Word. Yeah.
Well,
I know. Didn't that batting cage?
Good evening, everyone.
I don't know.
I'll call the meeting to order for the Sierra Vista City Council. Council meeting for August 12th, 2001. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Rick Mueller,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Rachel Gray,
Present.
Councilmember William Benning,
Present.
Councilmember Gregory Johnson,
Present.
Councilmember Angelica Landry,
Present.
Councilmember Mark Rodriguez,
Present.
Councilmember Carolyn Umphrey.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. We'll start as we usually start with the invocation and the pledge. Tonight, the invocation will be led by the Reverend Greg Adolph of the St. Andrew's Catholic Church, and the pledge will be led by Councilman Benning. Please rise.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, before the invocation, I'd like to invite you to pause and remember the passing of a citizen who could be called Mr. Sierra Vista. Nacho Valenzuela passed away last Friday morning, the 6th of August, in his daughter's home at 96 years of age. Born on Fort Huachuca on the 19th of February 1925, Nacho lived his whole life here in our community, apart from the years of his honorable service in the United States Navy in the South Pacific in World War II. An active member of many civic organizations and a true community builder in many roles. Most recently, his work in restoring and preserving the Fry Pioneer Cemetery received congressional recognition earlier this year. Like so many of the greatest generation who have made Sierra Vista their home, his legacy is one of building community and making our city a great place to live in. May he rest in peace. Let us pray. Eternal God, loving Father, through you all authority is rightly exercised, all just laws are enacted, and right judgment given. We come before you with thanksgiving for the many blessings which we enjoy as a free people, living in a place of such great natural beauty, beauty which lifts our hearts and minds to you. The majestic Huachucas and whetstones speak to us of your faithfulness, immense and sheltering, and we lift up our eyes to the mountains. The San Pedro and its many tributaries recall the streams of your grace, greening and giving life, even when not visible to our eyes. The bright stars of our clear desert nights move us to ponder your immutable laws, governing the universe and giving direction to the wandering and inspiration to those who view the heavens in peace. The brilliance of the sun is like your wisdom, illuminating and unquenchable. The wonderful rains that we have been experiencing, renewing and refreshing the earth and its creatures, come down and give life and blessing. Today we ask that we might see yet one more reflection of your goodness and your presence in our lives. We ask that through the wise, just, and caring actions of our mayor, our city council, and all those who serve and protect us, Sierra Vista may more and more reflect the heavenly city, where people of every tribe, language, race, and nation may find their lives sheltered by justice, warmed by compassion, guided by wisdom, sustained by integrity, and enlightened by your loving goodness. All this we ask with confidence, because we ask everything through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you, Father Greg, and thank you, Mr. Benning. And of course, it goes without saying that the condolences of the council go out to the Valenzuela family, and we thank him for all the great things he's done for our city. Item number 1 is the acceptance of the agenda. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Mayor, I move that the agenda for the regular City Council meeting of August 12th, 2021 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additions, corrections to the agenda?
None.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now go to the city manager's report. Mr. Patuchik.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller. Members of the council, a few items tonight. Our 100-foot aerial fire ladder truck has been posted on July 25th, and we have a due date of August 16th for those bids, so we hope those come in well. As everyone is aware, the West Fry Boulevard Improvements Project is well underway. We're working hard with the businesses to ensure that people can still make it into them and enjoy the services that they provide. And we still anticipate that being finished at the end of the year, rains and the good Lord willing. The EMS Substation design build, Core Construction delivered their guaranteed maximum price on the 10th of August, and that came in at $2.972 million. So just slightly over what we start, but of course we're running a tight time frame, so we must get the project started by September. So that will start towards the end of this month, and completion is scheduled for late February. As I noted at the work session on Tuesday, we have our year-over-year fiscal year 21 sales tax receipt report, and I'm very pleased to report that sales taxes were up, as I mentioned, 11% year-over-year. So quite an amazing thing given COVID and everything we went through. So certainly a very good result for us. And then finally, we had a JPA board meeting for Ccom this morning. Obviously, staffing issues came up much like they do here at the city, particularly with the police department. But one of the main things we'll be looking at is a review of our intergovernmental agreement with Cochise County and the bylaws, and looking at making some updates and changes to that. And of course, that will have to come before the council for amendment in the future. So something else on the radar. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor Mueller.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Patuchik on his report? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Patuchik. We'll move on to item number 2. Dr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the consent agenda consisting of the special city council meeting minutes of July 20th, 2021 and July 26th, 2021 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or corrections on those 2 items? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now go to a public hearing item number 3. Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Mayor, I move the resolution 2021-054, new license, interim permit, limited liability type of ownership for a Series 12 liquor license for Junkie Matranga on behalf of the Tasty Walk and Asian Market be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Adams, may we have the staff report, please?
Mayor Mueller, members of council, as Mr. Rodriguez stated, this is an application for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Jung Matranga for the Tasty Walk Restaurant and Market. Sorry. The facility that she is in is the Old Beef Baron, as was mentioned. The Old Beef Baron, the old Peacock, the new Peacock, whichever. It's had many iterations, but she is the most current tenant down there. It's right in the middle of all of the construction, and it's good to see that they're moving forward with this license application for their business. The posting of this public hearing has been on the facility for the required amount of time, and no comments have been received from the public, pro or con. The police department has done their required background check and has no objection to this license going forward, and if approved tonight, it will be returned to the state for final action and issuance.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Any questions for Mrs. Adams on this item? Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now move on to new business, item number 4. Mrs. Humphrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that ordinance 2021-006 fiscal year 2021-2022 property tax levy be approved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mrs. Osborne, may we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. So this is actually the final step in the budgeting process. The ordinance before you today is the approval of the primary property tax levy, the proposed rate at .1108 per $100 of assessed value. The tax levy rate and the total collection amount was provided by Arizona Department of Revenue, and public truth and taxation notices are not required for this new proposed rate. There has not been any public comments or questions concerning the levy to date, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this item?
Just to make it clear that the tax rate, although it appears that it's gone up, they will be paying the same that they did last year.
Same amount of money, yes. Okay. Or we will be collecting the same amount of money. I think it's the best way to put it. Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Thank you, Ms. Osborne. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. We now move on to item number 5. Mayor Pro Tem Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that ordinance 2021-007, amendment to City Code, Chapter 33, City Departments, be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Now, my schedule says Ms. Yarborough, but I'm assuming that's going to be you, Chuck, since she's not here.
Yes.
Okay.
You are correct, Mr. Mayor. Okay, Chapter 33 of the City Code is a section that defines the specifics about the city departments authorized. And this is largely an administrative cleanup item, given that over the years things occur like changes in department names, like from the fire department to fire and medical services, or departments may consolidate or change organization, like what happened with Library and Parks and Leisure a number of years ago when they combined. So basically this updates all of that, and hopefully will make it then easier for us either to make changes or hopefully not make too many changes in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Patuchik on his report? We went through this at the meeting earlier in the week. Any additional comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Just a housekeeping item. Okay, we now move on to item number 6, Mr. Benning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2021-055 Parks Master Plan be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We're going to have a tag team here. I got McLaughlin and Wilson, and I think it's probably going to be Matt.
I'll introduce the item. We're pleased to present to you tonight the final draft of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. It represents a year-long effort that involved extensive public input and collaboration with our stakeholders. And I just want to thank everybody that took the time to participate and help us arrive at a set of recommendations that we think reflect the needs and priorities of this community. As stated in our memo, the purpose of the master plan is to provide a guide in developing and maintaining our parks and recreation facilities over the next 12 years. The priorities in the plan will be evaluated in connection with our annual capital improvement program budget process. And to a large extent, implementation will be driven by our continuing success in leveraging partnerships and seizing upon grant opportunities, and Laura's team has built up an impressive track record in that regard. You've heard how the department is transitioning from reactive to proactive maintenance and making investments that are going to lead to long-term savings. And Brian Mills was actually instrumental in helping us build the repair and replacement list, providing us with current cost estimates. He's been.
Can I interrupt you a minute? When you say savings, we're not just talking money. We're talking saving water, saving time, saving
across the board,
electricity,
right,
all those things.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
I just wanted the public to know all that.
Right, efficiency improvements.
You guys are doing a great job.
Right, they're doing tremendous work. And so the plan is not only designed to enhance the quality of life and sense of our community for current and future residents, but also, as you heard at the Spotlight Breakfast, leverage sports tourism as a economic driver. So, and you heard Laura's vision for seamlessly integrating Veterans Park and creating an indoor-outdoor campus environment that could serve as a hub for the diverse array of recreational offerings that they provide to our community. And per the mayor's suggestion, we added a restroom facility to increase accessibility during major events to the capital projects list. The public's had more than 60 days to review the complete document, which is posted on our Engage platform and promoted through social media and other news outlets. The comments we received are provided as an attachment to our memo, and we summarize those on Tuesday. I just want to reiterate that the public involvement process that we went through in the development of this plan will continue as we work through the implementation. The master plan provides the broad strokes, and the details will be filled in on a project-by-project basis in consultation with area residents, as the mayor mentioned, a standard operating procedure. The Parks and Recreation Commission met in April and unanimously voted to recommend its approval. This crosses off your strategic plan goal of staff developing a comprehensive Parks and Recreation master plan, and it's our recommendation that you approve the plan this evening. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions from Mr. McLaughlin? Okay, I just want to thank you because I know this is been a long process with a lot of folks involved. And I would just remind everybody that I think it's 2024 when we do the general plan again, which is, it's every 10 years. I think it's 23 or 24. We need to, once we go through that public process and get the input from the public, we probably need to take time, Chuck, to go back and review this to make sure we're hitting all the points that come up in the next general plan, as well as I'm sure we'll have at least one more strategic plan from the council as well. So that's a future planning point.
And if I might add, Mr. Mayor, certainly this does provide a guideline and certainly identifies the improvements that are needed, as well as the maintenance items that will greatly enhance our operation. It will probably not be in any particular order, because obviously there will be grant opportunities such as the ones we're looking at this fiscal year. So I think I look at it more as there's targets of opportunity, and of course, as we're able to knock those things out and get other funding, we'll have to update the plan and then report on our progress as such. So it's a very exciting thing, though, for the community.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the city departments that worked on this, and I know it's been a lot of hard work putting it together, and I think it's a very well thought out plan that's looked at a various amount of issues, like you said, savings on water, electricity, that's not always just necessarily tied to money, but it's us just being good stewards of the resources. So I appreciate the hard work, and I thank you all for what you've done with it. And good job.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to do the same thing to Matt and Laura. I mean, and the rest of the staff. I know.
And Blake's here as well.
Is she here?
Yeah, Blake did a lot of good work too.
Yes, he did.
Huh?
Blake.
Yeah,
he did a lot of good work too.
Like, is Laura here? And then especially want to thank the Parks and Rec Commission. We did a lot of field trips out to all the parks. We went to different facilities to look to see what they had, what they offered, to help put all these pieces together with Laura and Matt. And I mean, it was a huge team effort in the community. So I just want to thank Matt and Laura, though, for spearheading it and getting this done. And I look forward to voting on this tonight. So thank y'all.
Anybody else? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Really quick too. I love seeing this park master plan and looking at it and seeing all of, like, shout outs to everybody who put it together, seeing all of the research and the analysis that went into that, all the feedback that was given. It's really neat to see all the different parks broken down and recommendations and the maintenance stuff. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing things happen and making service even better. So looking forward to it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, with that, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, and great work, guys. Okay, we now go on to item number 7. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2021-056, amendments to the Development Code Section 151.02.004 definition section and 151.06.008 communications facilities and section 151.20.002 architectural design and review applicability and declaring a 30-day public comment period.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Pregler, may we have the staff report, please?
Yes, of course you can. Thank you, Mayor Mueller and members of council. Staff is recommending, as stated in the resolution, 3 separate development code amendments for your consideration. Now, before I talk specifically about the amendments, I want to talk a little bit about the rationale and reasoning behind these amendments. Now, the Community Development Department regularly reviews code provisions and procedures to identify ways in which a city can improve efficiencies, clarify requirements, and help residents and business owners move through the review process more easily, which is consistent with City Council strategic plan initiatives. The proposed text amendments before you this evening will be consistent with these policies. So with that, I'd like to talk first about the first specific code amendment, and that has to do with the building height and finished grade definitions. Now, the proposed definition for building height states that the vertical distance to the highest point of the roof for a flat roof and to the average height between the eaves and ridge for gable, hip, and gambrel roof is measured from finished grade. So that's the definition, and that's how building height will be measured. Now, the current definition of building height is measured from the lowest grade to the highest point of the building rather than the average height. So the actual height of the building may exceed the defined building height. Secondarily, I mentioned in the building height definition that the buildings would be measured from finished grade. Now, the proposed definition of finished grade, as was revised based on the comments from the work session, I hope we have copies of those revisions in Exhibit A, will now state that the final elevation of the ground surface after alteration at the highest point adjoining the building structure. So that those 4 words right at the end of that sentence to be more clear for everybody. And just for purposes of the members of the public viewing this evening, I did want to kind of show you this diagram here, what we're talking about in terms of the changes to the development code. The current language measures building height from the lowest grade to the highest point of the building, and hopefully the camera can see this here.
Well,
And
Jeff, I forgot to do this at the beginning. We still have issues with our television system and using screens and putting diagrams out to the public based on the recent hit we had with the lightning. And hopefully that'll be repaired by the next time we meet. But Jeff has to go back to the old way with a diagram.
That's right. That's correct. So again, the existing language for building height is this first diagram. The second diagram is reflective of the new code language, which again is measured from the highest grade to the median point between the ridge line and the top of and the eave to the top of the ridge line. So with that, I'll move on to the next code recommendations. Let's see. Before I mention that, I do want to say that the reason for the amendments to this specific section are to provide building height flexibility and to be more consistent with the measurement of walls, fences, and signs, which are also measured from highest grade. Okay, so the next proposed amendments relate to communication facilities. Now, staff is recommending an amendment that would exempt essential communication facilities for emergency, police, and medical service dispatch located on public property from the development requirements in the communication facility section of the code. Now, one example where an exemption is necessary relates to architectural standards. Now, the development code currently requires all communication towers use stealth design, which includes concealing attached antennas and prohibiting the use of lattice-type towers. Now, communication towers used for cellular service are only using cell phone antenna arrays, which can be easily concealed in a monopole or other stealth design. Emergency service towers require additional arrays, dishes, and antennas that cannot practically be concealed. Therefore, the lattice-type tower is more functional for emergency service towers. In addition, there are reduced maintenance costs and repair times with lattice towers as opposed to monopoles. For example, monopoles require the city to order a lift truck from Tucson, which causing delays in the repair work and ultimately delays to emergency responses. Now, repairs to lattice towers only require local personnel to climb the structure and make the necessary repairs. Finally, lattice structures are the industry standard for emergency service towers, as can be seen from the various Cochise County lattice towers used for emergency services. So the amendments would expedite the review and construction of emergency communication facilities, which ultimately allow for quicker response times. Having said that, the city will make all attempts and efforts to meet all development code requirements for communication towers where practicable. Now, the final amendment being proposed relates to architectural and design review applicability. Although the architectural and design requirements are applicable to commercial, industrial, and apartment developments, the code does not specify if these requirements are applicable to sheds or accessory buildings associated with these developments. To clarify this issue, staff is proposing code amendments which would exempt certain accessory structures from meeting the architectural and design review criteria. Specifically, accessory structures that have a wall or walls that can be viewed from a public right-of-way, which are 30 linear feet or less, would be exempt from the architectural and design standards. Now, staff has reviewed all the commercial industrial sheds issued in the past 6 years, and none had a wall which was greater than 30 linear feet. So with that, I would like to state that the Planning and Zoning Commission heard the amendments on August 3rd and unanimously recommended them to City Council. The city posted the code amendments on the city's website. The city has not received any public comments. This does conclude staff support, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Pregler. Any questions for Mr. Pregler? We went through this in some depth. He had to get me convinced and unconfused on a couple items, but I think we worked through it. No questions? Any further comments? Discussion?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to, again, say thank you for going. I know that Jeff and Matt and Planning and Zoning and then it coming to us are going through the codes and doing what council has told you to do, which is to make them more simple, to make them less ambiguous, is that the word I'm looking for, so that they're very clearly defined, and I appreciate you doing this, and I think this meets that goal. So again, thank you for your work on these issues.
Anything else? So we'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Pregler. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 8. Dr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2021-057, accepting a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration for the American Rescue Plan Act funding, be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Flassar, may we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this agenda item will accept a $32,000 grant from the Federal Aviation Administration. The grant is the third in a series of federal grants intended to address the operational impacts of COVID-19 on airports. Funds can be used for operational and maintenance expenses or debt service payments, but cannot be used for new construction. Terms are identical to previous COVID grants offered by the FAA and accepted by the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Flassar, and we had the write-up in our packets. Any further questions or comments from the council on this item? Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Mrs. Flassar. We now move on to call to the public. I haven't received any requests from the public to come, but I'll open the meeting to the public in case there's anybody that would like to address us. Seeing no one, I'll close the meeting to the public. We'll now move to comments and requests of council. Tonight, we'll start with Mr. Benning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be brief. Father Greg, thanks for blessing the dais in this beautiful city we call home. It's good to see people out and doing things and starting to go into more events and doing more events. So that being said, we do have Dancing with the Stars coming up Saturday. Starting at 5:30. If you don't have your tickets yet, it's going to be a good event. And then Men Who Cook for the Sierra Vista Symphony. We are doing something different this year so we can get a little fundraising in for the symphony. We're doing a Men Who Cook in September. So September 18th, we'll have Men Who Cook at Columbia Hall. So tickets for that will sell out quick. So just want to make sure you get your tickets. There's a couple that I know Greg's going to talk about, so I'll leave it at that and just say be blessed and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benning. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the honor of attending the memorial service the other day for Nacho Valenzuela. He was truly Mr. Sierra Vista, and his contributions to our city will live forever. Thank you, Nacho. Additionally, I'd like to announce an art gala on September 10th. It was going to be held at the Tandem Lounge in the Windermere Hotel. Tickets are available at We Frame It, Windermere, and Dillard's. Admission is $10 a person. I have tickets here as well, if anybody's interested right away. It's going to go from 5 to 7. It's going to be hors d'oeuvres, hosted hors d'oeuvres, cash bar, and we're going to have piano music by one of our famous piano musicians that always played for the Forgash House. And one other thing.
Is there a charity connected to that?
It's the HARW.
HARW.
Mm-hmm. Also on September 11th, the next day, we're having quite an event in Veterans Park. It's hosted by the Warrior Healing Center and the Keepers of Liberty, which is an organization that teaches civics within our community. The headliner will be Don McLean, who was famous for Bye Bye Miss American Pie. The Gatlin brothers, they're worth going to see just them by themselves. Keith Anderson, who's kind of a country singer, and Trey Taylor, who's the youngest African American in country music history to perform. Tickets are $40, and you can get your tickets on CochiseFreedomFest.com. CochiseFreedomFest.com. And that's all I have.
And that's being co-sponsored by the Warrior Healing Center, I think you said.
Warrior Healing Center and Keepers of Liberty.
And if folks don't know, the Warrior Healing Center does a lot to support veterans in the community, and they work with veterans organizations, so worthwhile cause.
Yeah, they have over 50 different organizations within the Warrior Healing Center to help our vets.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Dr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we've all probably noticed, there's some stuff going on Fry Boulevard in the West End. It's going to be great once it's finished, but in the meantime, the businesses are still open. So even though you might have to do a U-turn somewhere, definitely still go out there to those businesses and support them. Don't let the construction stop you. And then this Saturday at the mall, there is the Home and Business Expo. It's going to be at 10 a.m. You can go out and meet various businesses and organizations. There's also a shred-a-thon where it's $5 per banker's box. So if you have things to shred, that's a great opportunity to take care of that. And there's also some raffle stuff out there too, and that's always great. So if you can make it out there, go and check it out.
Thank you, Dr. Landry. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. We talked about the rec and roll during our work session. I wanted to mention, give thanks to A Shift 201 who came out that day. Very last minute notice to fill up the dunk tank, right? Because they had the dunk tank got delivered, but it was missing water. So they scrambled, and Station 201 was the closest station. They came right away in the truck and filled up the dunk tank so that me and Angelica can get dunked that day. So I really want to thank that shift for coming out and doing that. And they also were the first ones to dunk me that way. So that was good. I really appreciate that. The IT section, I want to thank them for all the hard work they've been trying to do to get us back online. They're doing what they can. I know what they can with the staff they have, so I really appreciate that hard work around the City Hall. We kind of mentioned it last, but there's a medical responder and public safety hiring fair, 27 August at the mall. It's a Friday. So anybody that you know might be interested in that career field, have them check that out at the mall. And then the Bueno Football High School right now, the football team is selling their gold card. So it's that fundraising time of year. So if you know anybody or don't know anybody, I can point you in the right direction to get one. They're $20. We really want to support our youth athletes. You know, programs like that are getting cut. Funding's getting cut for those programs more and more. So this is kind of what they have to do to reach out to us and help out where we can. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you being a fellow dunk tank survivor now.
I love it.
Yeah. They don't give you a patch or anything, but
I made it.
You made it. Miss Humphrey.
I actually don't have anything.
Thank you very much. Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually was going to do my normal chamber stuff, but Angelica did it for me. So I don't have to. No, thank you. I don't have to. I just want to say, as usual, thank you, Father Greg. Beautiful. I tell him all the time, I love it when he comes to do our invocation. It makes me very happy. And also, in regards to Fry Boulevard, just talking to a few businesses that are down in that area, thank you to the community because they are really coming out. And a couple of them told me they've had almost record sales during this time of construction. So our community, as usual, is going out and supporting our businesses and making sure that our local businesses are being taken care of. So thank you for that, and that's all I have.
Well, that's great to hear, and I hope we'll continue to keep that up. I do have a couple of things tonight at 6:30. There's still a concert in the park. Hopefully it's not raining. It's Bill Perciello, who's the gentleman I think is going to play for the event that was mentioned earlier, and he's a pianist. He does everything to classical, contemporary, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, very good.
So if we're not raining out there, I recommend everybody get out there and see the free concert starting at 6:30 tonight. On Monday the 16th is the Tip of Cop at Vinny's to help support Special Olympics. The way this works is you go in and order a great pizza, wings, eggplant or chicken parmesan, and all the other good stuff that they have there, and they'll bring it to you, and you can tip a cop that will use the proceeds to go to the Special Olympics. So we appreciate our police force pitching in. In a way of thanks, I want to thank staff on Tuesday for a great Outlook breakfast. We had not only the standard excellent briefings by the city manager and assistant city manager, but we had a panel of our department heads, and I think you probably showed the community based on the comments I got. They were amazed that we had such quality, well-spoken, informed, and focused directors in our city, and we certainly are blessed to have those folks. And they really represented the city very well. So I want to thank each and every one of you for the great performance there. 20th, we're going to have a Veterans Resource Fair starting at 9 o'clock in the mall. And the 21st is the Miss Sierra Vista Pageant. And the pageant itself starts at 7 o'clock in the Klein Center over at the high school. Seeing nothing else before the council, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.